What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the Just Gonna Say It podcast on Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Do me a favor, if you're new to the channel, go and check out the rest of our videos because we have guitar videos pretty much every day of the week. We also have this little thing you can scan right here, and you can go buy pickups and guitar parts and guitars and all kinds of fun stuff over there at DylanTalksTone. Because that's what our real job is. So we can, so you can do all that stuff. We are also going to have a live stream Thursday night, and we are actually going to announce December's winner of the rig of the month. So rig of the week, rig of the month. So if you want to go over and scan this thing right here at the bottom of the page, you'll see submit your rig and take a cool picture of whatever you want. The price of your gear does not matter. It's the coolness of the picture. So that's what we base it on. And honestly, I don't usually pick them. Usually Leslie and Brianna pick them because that keeps it less gear biased and more just cool. So that's what we're doing. Today we are going to talk about a subject that is interesting. I actually was watching a Henning Pauly video the other day talking about the difference between the science of how a guitar works, which I really love, and the belief systems that many people hold surrounding guitar and where they cross over and what is healthy and what is not. It's a really interesting video he made. I encourage you to go watch it. It's just a really interesting take on it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because the reason I want to talk about it is because guitars are at this weird crossroads between like physics, obviously, because it's got to work, psychology, because we play for different reasons and stuff, right? Tradition, because of how because of how long it's been happening and people like their traditions about guitar stuff. And then obviously on the creative side of it, we create an identity based on, you're a Strat guy, you're a Les Paul guy, you're a Harley Benton guy, like whatever it is, doesn't matter. You create you feel an identity. And what happens is if you speak against something, like if I don't like a guitar and you like it, then people actually take offense. Like it becomes this whole thing. So, it's interesting because on one hand, you have to have the science because it has to work. Like the thing has to work, and knowing how it works is helpful. This is something I've thought about a lot, because, I've had this channel for 13 years and I've been thinking about it. Have thought about it the whole time. Like, dang it. You know what I did? I got way too nerdy at the very beginning, and now I can't get unnerdy. Which I know a lot of people like the nerdy stuff too, but you can't ignore the belief side of guitars. I don't think it can be ignored. I think I made that mistake. I think I made the mistake of being so science-minded that there is a level of tradition, emotion, and subjectiveness to guitars that no matter how technically correct some stuff is, it doesn't make as big of a difference sometimes as the emotional side of it. You know what I mean? As the quote unquote spiritual side, the belief system around something. Whether you think, alder sounds better than mahogany, sounds better than ash, sounds better than pine or poplar or whatever. People will argue that based on the technicality side of it, even though there's no real way to measure it, but really doesn't matter because if you like alder, then you choose an alder guitar, you feel at home and you play better. So therefore, that guitar, the tone is better for you. It's just interesting. A lot of times if we believe that something sounds good, then that must be the best thing, even even if it's not, right? Even if it's technically not the best, if you look at some specifications or you look at some sort of, quantifiable things, it might not be the best, but because it sounds the best to us, then that makes up the difference. And it's just the best for us. So it doesn't matter. Because as much as I want to be like a myth buster all the time, it's probably more healthy to just let people believe what they want to believe, no matter what. Tazzy Tim sent us a super chat. Thank you, Tazzy Tim. Happy upside down New Year's Eve. Yeah, I suppose that is already happening for you, isn't it? Let's see. Why not both science and feelings? Not religion, but feelings that can't quite be quantified. Well, yeah, and I think that's where we're coming down on it, right? I think that's where most people are going to come down on it. I think it's more of a mystique rather than religion. Okay. Let's see. Humans love to mentally assign mystical properties to objects. I think this happens a ton in the guitar world. That's a really good point. Some sort of mystical vibe to the guitar. Yeah, exactly. I get that. Let's see. Somebody said that was a great Henning video. It was a really good video. It made me think a lot. Tone, what is a myth? Let's see. The placebo effect is real. So here's the thing that I find interesting about this is that this will go both ways. Okay. So I think that, here's what happens. I think what happens and this is where the disagreement and a lot of the discord actually comes in guitar culture is when someone believes one thing and someone believes the other thing, then it's better or worse. When there is no better or worse, right? When it's just whatever you like. But people can't leave that alone. They'll, it has to be better or worse. But that goes back to that sense of identity, right? Like, well, I can't, some people can't play a particular guitar because they don't want to be associated with it. Some people can only play, they say they can for the same reason. But there's a lot of things about guitars that belief kind of plays a different role than actually the technical part of it. And as a result, no matter the guitar cost, so here's what happens. Guys that play inexpensive guitars, okay, because they don't want to believe the myths and the hype of a Gibson, for example. They don't want to believe the hype, and they don't want to buy the name, and they don't want to buy that, like, they come up, you're just buying a name. It's all hype. This guitar is just as good as blah, 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 blah. Okay, so they're being just as much of a snob, only backwards, as a person who says, I will never play a cheap guitar. I will only play an expensive guitar, right? What I've found, though, in my travels with this is that people that play inexpensive guitars and hate on expensive ones, it's not the other way around. Usually people that play expensive guitars also enjoy cheap ones. So it's more inclusive is a stupid word for this, but it kind of is. They fight about it less, if that makes sense. So the snobbery is real, even from the bottom up, if that makes sense. So this can go different ways because this is where the belief side of this doesn't matter how much the guitar costs, right? So wood species, obviously, finish, the brand prestige, like people, I care about the history of a brand. I care about the story of it. I do personally. And I'm going to look for something with more of a story than something that doesn't have a story. We were talking about this last night on our Patreon hangout. Somebody said, because I'm thinking about buying another guitar before the end of the year, because I usually do that. We were talking about 335s. And somebody said, do you like the dot or do you like the block inlay? And I'm like, well, I like the block inlay. And somebody else was like, well, I like the dot. Well, why do you like the dot? I like the dot because practically I just don't like the big block inlays. And my reason for getting a block inlay guitar, 335, is because it's the real thing. You know, there's no real reason. It's not a technical reason. It's just that if I get, and I think I would get like whatever the press launch color was, like whether it's that cherry red or black or whatever, not sunburst. I'm not a sunburst fan, but probably the cherry red one, even though that seems kind of boring, but in my mind, that's the vision of a 335. It has no technical merits choosing the color or the inlays in the neck. There's no other reason for it. It's literally a mental brand prestige thing. I just want to have the real one, right? That's all. I just really want to have the real one. And then of course, vintage versus modern thing. There's a lot of practical reasons why stuff became modern, but there's also a lot of practical reasons why people like vintage stuff. When you think about it from a objective standpoint, a lot of the advancements in guitar building have been advancements, right? So the type of saddles that we use, the type of materials that we use, the way we build guitars, all of it has gotten better. Metallurgy has gotten better. Wood sourcing has gotten better. All kinds of things. Guitars have gotten more consistent, but because of the religious side of it, because of the belief side of it, vintage stuff is still super cool. And there's no real wrong answer. It doesn't really matter. It's all cool. It's all cool, just because something, and I'll say this for all the Tonewood folks. Just because you can't measure it doesn't make it not real, I also think one of the things that happens is people get really dogmatic about this stuff. People tell, well, you don't believe in tone or wood. And no, I don't. That's not what I say, actually. I don't say that. I don't say that. You believe that one finish is better than the other. No, actually, I don't say that at all. Two things can be true at the same time when it comes to this kind of stuff, because there are so many variables, right? So there are certain things about the construction of an instrument that really matter to me and certain things that don't, which means that depending on what I'm looking at on a guitar or a particular instrument, it's a sliding scale. Sometimes what the wood is really matters to me. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes what the finish is really matters. Sometimes it doesn't. Those subjective things, I get accused of this all the time. Well, you said in a video 5 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not 5 years ago. If you thought everything that you thought 5 years ago, you would barely be alive. Like, you would just not be you would be so boring. And maybe you are boring. Maybe you do feel the same way as you felt 5 years ago about everything. I don't live like that. So as I explore stuff and learn stuff, I'm going to change it up. And it's going to inform my opinion, I think we all should evolve that way. And in that way, there is kind of a belief to this, because the science hasn't changed. The way a guitar works has not changed. But how we apply it, how we use it, does change. And so it will change how we approach the instrument, If you criticize a Kiesel, for example, oh man, the fanboys will attack you like crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think if you attack anything or if you criticize anything, people will, Hang on one second. Let me go back here and catch up. Chinese Epiphone for $1,000 is the work of the devil. That's funny. We like what we like. Pretty simple. Yeah, I agree. It's when somebody wants to argue is when people get silly. Yeah, see, and I don't understand the reason for arguing. I just I think everything is cool. I've been thinking about this a lot. You've heard me say it a bunch lately, and I'm going to continue to say it. That I think if you're completely shut off a particular something, you're cutting down the amount of fun that you're going to have. Unless you feel that you're just not going to have fun in that area, but I think a lot of times we do that prematurely. Guitars are an ecosystem. Every variable matters, and how you feel about those variables plays a part. That's true. Yeah, so it's always a sliding scale. That's why it's a different answer for everybody. I like a particular guitar, and then I don't like another guitar, and me and you could think completely the opposite, but it's because of our approach. The emotion with which we play the guitar changes everything. We talked about this a little bit yesterday in our pickup video, that the way you play and the force with which you play means that you approach a pickup in a guitar differently than I do. So I could use a particular pickup and not like it, and you could, because you approach the instrument differently. So the technical things are important, but they're only a factor, right? They're only a factor. Yeah. Let's see. Expensive guitars don't hate on cheap guitars. Dylan obviously hasn't been in a Gibson chat room recently. Yeah, to be honest with you, I haven't. I don't care. I don't want to. But here's what I do know. I know that especially in this community, the folks in these comment sections we have 1,500 videos. You'll routinely see I have a custom shop something something, and I have a Squire something something, and they're both awesome. And then you'll routinely see, the invariable I only play cheap guitars and expensive guitars are crap guy. It's just a weird, I don't understand that, but oh well, it's fine. Anybody can be who they want to be. Doesn't matter to me. I recently said I don't like a high-end boutique guitar on a forum, and I got banned. Oh, that's funny. I don't think people that spend a lot are sensitive because they spent a lot. I just think that the particular people that you're speaking to. Here's what I also think. And I've learned this over the years, and this is a weird thing to say, but people that can actually afford really nice stuff, like as a rule, like, hey, I'm going to buy a custom shop Gibson and just stroke a check for it today, without thinking about it. Those people aren't in those forums. Typically. I know that because over the years, again, millions of comments, we routinely have people who enjoyed really nice stuff, but they don't comment. They're not the folks who are complaining about about the world. You know what I mean? So I think that's really part of it. I don't spend thousands on a guitar for someone else to like it. I like it, and that's what matters. Oh man. One of my favorite comments of all time is, well, the crowd doesn't care what you're playing, blah, 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 or what's on the headstock. And I'm like, yeah, but I do. I don't care about them. They're just going to be drunk in 10 seconds, and I'm going to have to play for 4 hours, whether they're drunk or not. So I need to have fun. And if I don't like the guitar I'm playing, I'm not going to have fun for the next 3.5 after this guy's already had 17 Bud Lights. Like, it's not about the crowd. I don't care about the audience. I don't want to say I don't care about the audience, but for the concept of what guitar I'm going to play, I could give two rips about the audience, because it doesn't matter. They don't know the difference. The only person that knows the difference in the audience is the other annoying guitar player that shows up to just check out your gear. But, if you care what he thinks, that's a whole nother ballgame. Everything isn't cool to everyone. Yeah, exactly. Thinking about ordering a Kiesel. I'm thinking about ordering a Kiesel too. I am. Tone is not measurable. Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, tone is measurable. You can measure it. The problem is, here's the problem with all of this is your approach to the instrument changes what is measured. So, if we get a caliper, right, and we want to measure the blade stock thickness of this pocket knife, it's fixed, right? If we want to take a caliper and measure the thickness of this can, we can, and then if we squeeze a little harder, it changes it, right? And that's what guitars are. If you try to measure something tonally and then you measure it again, it'll be different. It can be different. Frequency. Okay. So frequency generators, blah, 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 all that stuff. I get it. But in practical terms, we are not frequency generators. We do not play. And I always say this when we look at a sine wave and they'll show like an AC sine wave and they'll be like, I'm like, that's not what a guitar signal looks like. A guitar signal is this big chopped up, super blocky looking weird thing that changes wherever your finger is on the fretboard and whichever string you're playing. And if there's transients between two notes at the same time. So you got this weird thing going all the time. So it's sort of pointless because we don't live in a vacuum and we don't play on it's not a sine wave. It's not like a undisturbed sine wave. Well, apparently you guys are hanging out with some snobby people because for some reason, I don't know those people. So I'll stand corrected on that, but I've just never seen it. I was permanently black-pilled the day I shared a New Year Day Les Paul, and the supposed friendliness community on YouTube had to remind me what a piece of crap it is. Dude, not here. I'd be down to hear about it. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I like all guitars. I think guitars are neat. So, tone is in the hands. That's really funny. How about ordering an artist TDs this year? I thought about that actually. I was looking at those a couple nights ago. I was up late, just like, all right, what am I, that is on the list. That is on the list. Yeah, that is absolutely on the list to think about. I don't know yet though. I haven't decided. I really keep going back to SGs, but I don't. So I've been thinking about a PRS, another PRS, because I don't. So let me say this: I don't have a regular PRS. I have a Fiore and a Silver Sky, but to me, those aren't like regular PRSs, So I was thinking about getting a custom 24, maybe. But I don't know. I haven't decided. I was thinking about maybe buying maybe an SG, but probably not. Because I'm kind of humbuckered up at the moment. As far as that goes. Let's see what else. Actually, I was thinking about buying another acoustic because I don't have a Taylor. I was actually looking at a Taylor 712 or 714 or something the other night. So I was kind of thinking about one of those. I don't know. We'll just have to see. PRS S2 Vela Satin in polar white. Dude, okay, so there's a custom 24 in like a pearl white that I was looking at, and that's really what I was thinking about. I actually just ordered a custom build, and it's gonna be white. So I don't know. We'll have to see. yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it. That white guitar. I'm not going to tell you all the details about it, but it's going to be pretty awesome, and it's coming. I don't know when it's coming. Coming the next couple months. Texas Toast is building it for me. Yep. Let's see what else we got. A regular PRS is basically just a pregnant Strat. I'm looking at the PRS S2 semi hollow. Oh, that's cool. Saving up for it. That's pretty rad. I'm thinking. So I was thinking about a pearl white, or I was thinking about an S2, but I don't like the S2 cut, like the French contour thing. I'm just kind of not I don't like how it looks. It's really, that's it. I just don't really like how it looks. I would rather have like the full drop top. But again, this goes back to, if I'm going to buy one, I'm going to buy the real one. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that the S2s aren't real, but the vision in my brain of what a PRS is, it's that. But I don't like fancy wood. So I don't know that I'm going to go for some kind of crazy top. I would probably go for a painted guitar. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing. That's what's fun about all this stuff is when you okay, kind of getting back to our conversation here. This is what I love. Okay. We're all talking about guitars, and I'm sitting here trying to choose a guitar to buy, and we're all contributing to this conversation. You all are contributing with me. And I think somebody said they can't really get into the neck profile. Okay. That makes sense. Maybe people just don't like, the choices I'm making. It's totally fine. But we're all just sitting around. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. This is what I would do. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Right? There's no being nerdy, right? I think if we were to just approach everything from the concept of, if you use science, okay, to kind of narrow choices down, you can use it to kind of like simplify choices, right? And when I say use science, I mean like humbucker P90, Strat. We know why they sound different. We know what they do. They're different, right? Maybe we could use science and measurements when we're talking about scale length choice and nut height and width and all that kind of stuff. That's all specs. That's all measurements. That's all quantifiable stuff. All right, so we measure it down. But then beyond that, I think that's where you stop. I think you're just like, okay, now I want a blue one. Now I want a red one. Now I want a green one. Because what inspires you? I'm scrolling through Sweetwater, and I'm literally like scrolling. Oh, that's cool. What is that? Oh, dang, it's $5,000. Never mind. Cause I don't want to spend that much, and then I'm like scrolling. Oh, that's sweet. Oh, dang. It's an SE. I don't really want an SE. I guess I could get one, but it's not really what I want. Okay. Oh, hey, that's totally sweet. Like, that's all I'm doing. I am not like, I just want to see something that grabs me. Like, I just want to be grabbed by whatever this is. Like, I just want to feel that feeling of like, hey, this sounds cool. You know what I mean? To get, instead of worry about, all the little goofy science of it all. Which is, it's two sides to that, because, I make pickups for a living. So I have to look at science. I have to look at, we have to look at magnet Gauss. We have to look at inductance. We have to look at capacitance. We have to look at resistance. We have to look at all the science when we develop a pickup. I'm working on a pickup design right now. And, before I ever even put it in a guitar to test it, I wind a bunch of different coils before I even ever try them, because I already know past experience, which helps us with everything in this, that I want it to be in a particular range scientifically. Okay, once it's there, will it do what I want it to do and, invoke the emotion that I want it to invoke when I play it? If not, okay, well, then I'm not going to do it. So that's the thing, like, even creating this stuff, even making this stuff from scratch, because I'm coming up with I was watching a YouTube video the other night, And I'm like, dang, I don't have a pickup that does that. You know, I was like just looking at watching a video. And so I watched a few more videos of this player. I'm not going to tell you who it is because I don't want to give away what I'm doing, but I was like, this is a sound I don't have in my catalog. I want to try to do something like this. So I started writing a bunch of numbers down and started like plotting out, okay, if I use this wire gauge and I use this blah, 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 will this work and this work and this work? Okay, cross that off. Nope, that won't work. Nope, that won't work. And you take it by the science because you got to make it work. But then the emotion takes over and you're like, all right, well, the science got me to this spot, but now it doesn't have the emotion I want. So then you got to start over. It's a totally different thing. Yeah, it's just kind of a weird concept. Let's see. I can't stand the 10-inch radius glossy neck. Okay, I get that. I don't think Paul's punching a wall anywhere. No, I don't think so. I think that that's made up. I think he's probably a really nice guy. I've never met him. I've met a few people at his company because I've worked with them on a couple of things, and everybody's been really awesome. Even when I don't say nice things about their guitars, they're really awesome. I don't like the way they coil split stuff, and I don't like their pickups that much. But they're still really awesome. They were really good to me. They're really nice people, and I would imagine that he's a really nice guy too. I've nothing bad to say about him. I don't agree with everything he says, but I do think that he is an excellent example. So the way PRS markets their products is an excellent example of finding the difference or walking the line between emotion and belief and science. So they really care about how the guitar is built, right? But then they also make them so pretty that you can't walk away from them, right? So what they're doing with the science is creating the belief that this guitar is going to be good. And it is. So I think they do a good job of that. You know, of course, he thinks a lot of interesting things that I don't necessarily care about, but that doesn't make him wrong. I mean, he just is very passionate about it, and I think it's really cool. I like the way he markets products. Gibson, I think they approach it differently. They go with the heritage of the brand, which again is emotional, which is very subjective, which is not technical, which is not scientific. Of course, they have a pickup developer. He's a friend of mine, actually, who, you know, develops all their pickups and stuff. He has to use science just like I do. But they do it differently. They appeal to belief and emotion and all of that differently based on the heritage of the company, as well as connection to artists, like that kind of thing. And they try to tell a story with each different like special edition model and stuff, which I think is pretty cool. I like that a lot. I wish Fender would do this more. I don't think Fender to me is the most kind of big box of all of these because, well, and they are the biggest, but they're kind of the biggest box store feeling. And I think that's why their line is so confusing, is because they have so many models. I get it. They're trying to create a price point for a guitar for each price point, which totally makes sense, but it makes it more difficult. And it does take people start to just write a spec sheet more than they do their emotion based on the guitar. I don't know very many people who read a bunch of spec sheets before they buy a PRS, or even a Gibson, to be honest with you. Maybe an Epiphone more because you can get more stuff. But, you know, Gibsons, they are what they are. It's kind of pick a color and pick how fancy the wood is, and, you know, pick what neck profile based on the, you know, the generation of the guitar or whatever. So it's really more based on emotion and based on that heritage and the feeling of it. Where Fender, you kind of have to not know more, but there's just so much going on. You kind of have to spec sheet a little bit more with them. Have you looked at the NF53s? I have. Yes. I haven't decided. I haven't decided. I like the SG a lot. I do too. I have an SG special. I just don't have a regular SG, so I've been thinking about getting one. I bought a Hello Kitty Squire and it almost sliced my finger off. Where'd you get it? One guess, Guitar Center. Fender Ultra anything. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how much you pay for stuff. Cheap guitars are going to need more. That is for sure. Well, cool, you guys. I know this wasn't a whole lot today, but this was really fun. Thanks for hanging out. And got a video tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the good old Ernie Ball Slinky. So there you go with that. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.